Hello, everyone who's not here yet because this is later than my normal time. Just gonna wait so that everyone can get some um, notification that I'm on. Um, so I am. Um, so update on Lenny. He's not dying. Um, well, there's definitely something wrong. But a phone call, and I stopped crying, and then he pooped, and he wants to eat, so he's alive. And we decided to not run to the emergency vet, where I was 1000% sure that he was going to need an ultrasound, and he was dying, and he's not. There's something upsetting his abdomen. So it could be a muscle, but he doesn't want to be stretched. He doesn't want his stomach stretched. So when what happened was I was coming upstairs here to do the live stream, and he hasn't felt good since Atlanta. He had an ulcer in his mouth. He had something in his lip there that he caused like an ulcer, and that whole side of his mouth was swollen. So when I got home, we started on Clavamox and Rimadyl, and the last couple of days he just hasn't really been himself. He doesn't want to jump. Well, he doesn't want to jump up on the bed. Apparently this morning he does. This is terrible, but he jumps my X-Pens. My dog yard is just X-Pens, and so he did try to attempt to climb out of that this morning for my boyfriend. So I don't know if he really caught himself funny or what, but he ran up the steps to follow me up here to do the live stream, and we live in a split level. So he got up the 4 steps to the landing, and he bunny hops up the steps. So he's bunny hopping up the steps, and he did like 2 steps, and then he kind of like walked up the other 2, and then he started just screaming, and I fucking lost it, because that's so he's fine now though. So like I held him, but his tongue had turned like blue gray, and I was sitting in like a pile of tears, holding my dog, and I screamed for Joe to come help me, and he comes upstairs and he's trying to like pick Lenny up, and I was like, "Don't touch him," and he's like, "What do you want me to do?" I'm like, you came up to help me, not help me with Lenny. I've got Lenny. I need somebody to have me. So he relaxed. He would stop shaking, stop screaming, and yes, Crystal. No, I'm gonna go to my vet tomorrow, which is my job. Like where I work is I've been taking him there. So he is. We're gonna go. I'm gonna get blood work and dental X-rays just to be safe. He looks a little bit like he has a palsy in his face right now because he's also holding his one ear up and his eyes kind of squinty closed, and it was very traumatic though. I had a border collie boxer mix named Deuce, and that was my first dog as an adult, and he ended up with epilepsy and EPI, and like I was at the emergency vet so much, so every time like something like this happens with my dogs and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know where you're hurting, I like have a meltdown and like post-traumatic stress from that, flashbacks. All right. But anyway, so he walked down the steps after like he calmed down, and then stood at the door like sniffing and wagging his tail. So that's when I decided that, okay, I'm gonna see like maybe he has to poop, and he did go outside and poop, and that was normal, and he wants to eat and stuff. So anyway, we're gonna go to the vet tomorrow, get some blood work and whatever. Yes, so Letty is okay for now. He is not 100%. He still doesn't feel good, but he's not dying. And thankfully, he did not give me an aneurysm, but I'm going to have a brain tumor at some point in time from the stress. So, anyway, I'm going to say some things that everyone has been arguing about. And I just want to talk about them, and I want you to listen to what I'm saying. It's not about what you do, it's about how you're doing things. And I just really want you guys to hear me, okay? And if I cry, it's because I'm very stressed out about my dog and disappointed in some people and some things that I've seen. And you know I'm a crier, so it's fine. So,
work.
Okay. First off, the elephant in the room, the virus. I want to talk about how viruses work. Viruses are organisms. They're one cell, and they need your cells to reproduce. They cannot reproduce on their own. You can get viruses in many different ways. Viruses are the most plentiful biological thing on the planet. There are more viruses on this planet than anything else. There is no cure for a virus. Stop saying there's no cure. There's no cure for any viruses. Your immune system is the cure. In cases of viruses like HIV, rabies, or measles, those viruses are very deadly because they shut down your central nervous system. They shut down your body's response to the virus. This virus is not like that. Okay, I don't want to scare anybody by saying that. Those viruses are very smart viruses and they adapt. A virus uses your DNA to reproduce. So yes, it can mutate. This virus has not mutated. There are 2 strains, and what that means is that it's like a male or a female version, and one produces more than the other. They are the same. So it is not mutating quickly. It went from animal to person. A few people got infected, and at some point it did mutate to human transmission. That is the only mutation. It is discussed on the WHO website. Okay. And I'm saying this because I'm not trying to scare anyone. I just need everyone to get on the same page about this because I'm seeing so much misinformation being shared or misinterpretation of the information. Okay? You have to read the whole articles. You can't just read headlines, guys. You're sending information around and you're scaring the shit out of each other. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be concerned. Everyone should be concerned. Everyone should practice good hygiene. Everyone should practice good sanitation. That is a year-round thing. Because viruses are plentiful and on everything. You have viruses living inside you. E. coli, right? Scary, right? It's in your gut. It protects you from bad bacteria that you eat. Yes, it can get out of control, or you can get E. coli that is a different strain than yours, and that can wreck you. But it's there. It's there all the time. Okay. So, currently, in the US, the average infection is about 7% of the population. What that means is that of all the people they're testing, some areas are at 5% positives, some areas are at 10% positives. The average, which is Washington State, which is, had a lot of cases, and the earliest cases is at 7%, and that's about where we're going to end. It's just what the average is getting to be. So about 7% of the population will be infected at some point. And staying home is great. If you can stay home, that's fine. If you're legally mandated to stay home, yes. You cannot, however, stay home forever and think that this is going to be over and the virus is going to go away. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. And so here we come to the heavy subject matter about staying home. If you feel that for your health, or because you cannot guarantee that you can practice the CDC regulations, that recommendations that are put into place for social distancing and sanitizing and keeping things clean and neat, then stay home. If you are legally mandated to stay home, you have to stay home. Not everyone is the same as you. And this bullying and the if you don't stay home, you're part of the problem and you're killing people. You're not killing people. You're not. Yes, people leaving their house will spread disease and viruses and bacteria. And guess what? It's 7% of the population that'll get infected, not 7% of the population that will die or get hospitalized or need an ICU. It's about 10% of people that get infected that need to go to the hospital, and about 10% of that need an ICU, and even less than that need a ventilator. You don't just need a ventilator because you went to the ICU. And I'm not saying don't be concerned. I'm saying that the things that the CDC recommends are things that they recommend every day. But the bullying, the abuse, the ooh, they're open, go report them. Who are you? That is bad behavior. You didn't listen to your mom when she said wash your hands and don't touch your face, but you better listen to your mom saying that be kind. Be kind. Not everyone is you. Not everyone is required by law to do the same things you are. Some places, some governments do think grooming is essential. And why wouldn't they? We're the first line of defense for fleas. Do you know what fleas carry? The bubonic plague. You think that went away? No. There are 7 to 12 cases of the bubonic plague every year in the United States. Worse, in undeveloped countries. It didn't go away. Viruses, bacteria, doesn't go away. Do you know the only thing that we got rid of? Smallpox. And then nobody wanted to vaccinate for it. It's back. It's back, baby. So stop it. Stop acting like, first off, you all know who you are. And you're being bullies. And you need to stop that. Because secondly, all these, my clients are so precious. My clients are so precious. Last month you were talking about what a brat and what a entitlement and this, that, and the other thing. And now they're more precious to you than your grandma. Or they're like a second grandma. Do you even know their names? My immunocompromised and elderly people. They're going to leave their house anyway. They're going food shopping. They're going to Home Depot. I get it. Yes, you can help stem the tide of the virus. But if you think for 1 second that everybody's going to sit at home for 6 months, you do not know people. And if you think that, unemployment will cover us, unemployment is a government Ponzi scheme. And bear with me, I know that sounds really harsh, but unemployment insurance we pay into. It doesn't go into an account for me. It's just like healthcare. You pay for your healthcare in a certain bracket, and then the money that you pay in is used to treat other people who need it. Same thing if you get sick, other people are paying for your healthcare. Even though you pay every month, It's not like, okay, well, I've paid $1 million over my lifetime, so I have $1 million worth of care. That's not how healthcare works. And that's not how unemployment insurance works. It's not how any insurance works. They take all the money in a pool and they use that money that everybody's paid in to cover costs. So if everyone's at home, there will be no unemployment insurance. There will be no government bailout. The government is paid for by the taxpayers. I'm not saying ignore everything. Go lick doorknobs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying stop bullying people. Stop telling people they're not essential. You've told me for a decade and a half that I am essential, that I am a professional, that my voice matters in the care of dogs. Is it life-sustaining? Well, it could be. Some people are allergic to their animals and they pay every week for their animal to get bathed so that that animal can stay with them. Dogs lower blood pressure. I'm not saying that what we do is, the world's going to stop. I'm not saying that. But I'm also saying don't act like this now because you're scared. It's okay to be afraid. It's scary times. We don't know anything about this virus. Or what we do know is very limited. And people are sharing things left and right and giving you information, but not in the right context. I said in Pro Groomer Network last night, it's like saying I need to be paid 50%. What do you need to be paid 50% of? Is it $0? Is it $1,000? Is it $250? You need complete data, and we don't have that. So abusing other groomers whose governments, local governments, think that they're important and they matter because we're in, tick country. We're going into flea season. People need some semblance of normalcy, and it's a low contact job. My boarding kennel, my daycare, my vet can be open still. And like Kristen Pearson said yesterday, so if there's a groomer there, why wouldn't they be able to groom? Because it's the same pick up and drop off. And you say, oh, well, we've got to keep the people home. The people aren't staying home. They're not ever going to stay home. When you're getting positives, report it daily. Okay? In the state of Pennsylvania, we have what's called PA Cast. And every day, the governor and our Secretary of Health for the state come on and they give us numbers. And it looks like our numbers doubled overnight. And people are like, oh my God, the cases went up overnight. They didn't. The testing is 7 to 10 days behind in Pennsylvania. Some areas it's as fast as 3. But for example, in Pennsylvania, when they report our positives, they say since March 6th. And one of our newspapers did a follow-up question and they said, well, when were these tests administered? And they said, well, we don't know. We're not tracking that. I don't know if you guys are familiar with statistics or tracking trends, but one of the important things when you're tracking something is to know when your data was collected. So although, yes, we got confirmation overnight of X amount new positives, we also are tracking our negatives. And the percentage of our positive cases to the percentage of our negative cases is flat in PA. There hasn't been some big spike. It's just flat. And they can't tell you when these tests were taken, just when the results were received. But when the test is taken is the important part. Because maybe 75 of those tests are from one day, and then there was 5 positive tests like 3 days later. Well, that means that there was a spike, and now there's a leveling off. And if we're truly trying to flatten a curve, but we're not tracking when the curve's hitting. We can't see. All we see is a big loop. And it means nothing. It's nothing. It means nothing without those other information. The number of positive cases in the US means nothing if we don't have the number of tests administered. And some of those positive results, they're testing people who test positive and are in the hospital, and they're testing them until they become negative. So how many people have been tested? And these are the things that we need to worry about. So that brings me back to what we do. The word essential is a non-entity term. So stop saying we're essential or we're not essential. It doesn't matter, because what you think is essential and what the government thinks is essential is two completely different things. And so to say like, oh, well, it's not essential, we're non-essential here, but there's other states where it has been classified as essential. And sometimes they're talking about essential to continuing life or to maintaining, people living. And sometimes they mean essential to the infrastructure of the state. Because again, somebody has to pay for all of the people who need to stay home. And then comes the question of, why is there such a gray area? And here's my big point. There's a gray area, and there's so much bullying because we are an unregulated and unlicensed industry. And for all of the government, we are a cottage industry. There's so many different ways we operate and so many different business structures. And we have a gray area because we don't fall into anything, because we don't have licensing, because we don't have regulation. And if we were licensed or regulated, we would have a black and white answer. And then you have all these people fighting that if the state says yes, people can groom, but they've chosen to close or they feel afraid, they're fighting to get other people closed. Leave it be. If you want to be closed because you don't feel safe, because you don't feel that you can sufficiently follow those CDC recommendations and guidelines for business operations and social distancing, then stay closed. If you have immunocompromised people at your house and you're afraid of picking it up, stay closed. If somebody can follow those recommendations, is legally allowed to be open and wants to operate, let them. They're not selfish or greedy. You don't know anybody's story. Do you know how many friends I have that just opened their business, just bought their business, haven't had a paycheck for 6 months because they're working for their dream? And no, a couple of weeks will absolutely kill them. It will absolutely kill them. And as much as people want to complain, oh, well, only the billionaires care about the economy, you don't remember the Great Depression then. You don't want this economy to go into a depression. It's going to affect way more people for way longer than this virus will. And again, we don't have good data. We're making decisions based on bad data. You need a full set. You need the dates. You need the dates of those tests. You need the whole picture. And we're making decisions based on piecemeal information. And that's not okay because it's spreading fear. So if you're home and you're worried about other people and what they're doing and you're trying to get them shut down or report them or whatever, maybe instead think about what would a good licensing for grooming look like? Because this is the time. We fight it. We fight it all the time. You know, people bring it up because a dog died at PetSmart or a dog died here. And then, it's some like 17-year-old Maltese that was like half dead anyway when it walked through the door, or a bulldog, or, freakish accident. And then they want to bring down the hammer on the grooming industry. So take this time and focus your energy on what that looks like. Lisa, I see you writing a lot of comments, and that's fine, but they still need to record. Okay, here I am. I'm trying to not respond to comments because it's distracting to me, and I need people to listen to the whole thing that I'm saying versus picking one item that I'm saying and having something to say about that. So again, here's the thing. If you don't track when these tests were administered, you cannot see, after you get confirmation that it's positive, any trend. If it's just reporting confirmed cases overnight, it doesn't mean anything because there's a lag. But they know when the test is dated. The test has to be dated. That it's a chain of custody thing in medical. You take a sample and you date it. So that date is important when that sample was taken. And if we're not being given that information, we're being given nothing. We're being given a 50. 50 what? 50 when? You need the what, the when, the where. That's the it. So take this time, instead of bullying people and being mean to people and freaking out, things you cannot control, that you should not control, and focus on the things that we can control. If you can't keep a sanitary business, or you have problems cleaning throughout the day because of the way your days are structured. I mean, some of us get crazy busy. Some of us have 10 people in the lobby at once because we do drop-offs in the morning. Think about, in the future, how's that going to look? Is there something that you can do to make it less chaotic, to make it, safer for everyone all the time? Because the viruses are everywhere. There are many viruses. There are viruses that are very, very, very contagious. Yes, people are dying. People die every day. People can die on their way to your shop. People could get pneumonia from inhaling dog hair by walking into your shop, and they inhale the hair and then they cough and they aspirate, and you can get pneumonia. Pneumonia is your lungs' reaction. It's their defense mechanism. They cover the irritant and mucus, and then you have to expel it. And then just some people can't because they don't have good lung function. They don't, they can't cough hard enough. They don't have a good diaphragm. Like, whatever. Sometimes it's just too much buildup. And then, again, I'm getting off on a tangent. But think about the things you can control. And stop trying to control other people. Not everyone is you. Not everyone who goes outside is going to get COVID-19. Obviously, most people aren't. Most people aren't. There are way more negative tests than there are positives, and that's a good thing. But again, without knowing how many negative tests have been administered, the positive tests don't really mean anything. You need a full set of data. And this fear-mongering and the bullying and the you're killing people and it's mean. It's mean. And I don't care if this is going to eventually end. It won't ever go away. That's not how viruses work. There's still MERS and SARS
Mm-hmm.
around. They're both coronaviruses as well. So anybody who has a conspiracy theory about the vaccines, like SARS stands for sudden acute respiratory syndrome, MERS stands for Middle Eastern respiratory syndrome. They're both the same as COVID, like same kind of family. So, there's like just a lot of bad information on the internet right now. And we can't control any of that. We can only ever control how we react to things, and being mean and witch hunts are not productive. They're not ever going to help the industry. They're not going to make a difference because those people are allowed to be open. And whether you agree with that or not, like, it's nice to say we're all in this together. We are not. We're not. There are people who can afford to be closed. There are people who will be fine being closed. And then there are people who will lose everything. Everything. And I'm not saying that, this isn't a big deal and you should, like, whatever, go back out and live your life. But we're not getting complete data. We're never going to get complete data unless we ask our government instead of to, give us an essential or not essential. Can I be open? Can I not be open? How about you ask them how many negative tests they have if they're not reporting that? Ask them to update the positive cases on a graph with the date the test was administered, because we don't have good data. We don't have good data. I don't like it's take this time and look and see and be like, hey, you know what? Okay, I can't control that. I can control this. Set up protocols for sanitation for your salons. I have a great cleaning list. It's my end of night cleaning list. I'll gladly share it with everybody. You can update it for your salon, your situation. Think about licensing and regulations so that in the future, when things happen like this, we have a clear answer because we have our own code. All those essential, non-essential, life-sustaining, not life-sustaining stuff, it was all based on your CODIS code. It's been a long time since I did that paperwork, and I don't own a business anymore. So, we should have our own code. Kennels do. Doggy daycare does, not grooming. And then we would have clear, solid answers. For those who are still working, and need to work and want to work and are doing it in a safe and following the CDC recommendations, you're not alone. You're not alone, and you might feel as much fear about other groomers right now as they feel about the virus. And I just want you to know that it's okay. As long as you're doing it and nobody's come knocking on your door and said, no, you absolutely cannot operate. And that again is your decision if you do that. I'm not encouraging people to break the law. To the people who are really afraid of the virus and what it could do to their families or themselves because they are unhealthy or they do have they are immunocompromised. It's okay to be afraid. It's okay to watch the news and be scared and unsure, because honestly, that's kind of what the news does. Just don't take your fear and your uncertainty and all those things that you can't control out on other people. It's not fair. They're not you. You can only control yourself and how you react to things. Yes, we're all going to get through this, but we're not all in the same boat. We're all on an ocean together, and some of us are in yachts, and some of us are in dinghies, and some of us are in rowboats, and some of us are just holding on to the door and telling Jack that we'll never let go. And will we all make it to the shore? Maybe. You can't know. Because you don't know anybody else's story. And again, it's nice. Like, they're nice phrases. They sound great. And it's a war. You're never going to fight a war against a virus. You will always lose. You cannot cure viruses. You can make vaccines for them, but those same immunocompromised people will probably not be able to get that vaccine. There's different types of vaccines, and if it's like an attenuated one, they're not going to be able to get it because they'll get the disease. Vaccines aren't medicine. They're to help your immune system respond. And quite frankly, there's a SARS vaccine and a MERS vaccine, and I've not gotten either, and I highly doubt that most people have, because those were also novel emerging viruses that were all very scary for a while. And same thing with H1N1, which is still around. There's somebody on my timeline that got tested for COVID and found out she has H1N1, which is a swine flu. So again, remember to be kind to people, because it's not just 2 weeks. Like, this is it. Like, COVID-19's around. It's always going to be around. Just like the flu, just like SARS, just like H1N1. It might not be as prevalent. But it's going to be around, and it's not going to go away. And viruses don't go away. They just don't. Except smallpox. But it's back. So, I guess I'll end it there. But I just stop being dicks. Just stop being dicks. Stop getting angry at everyone that's not exactly like you. That's why we live in America. People are doing the best they can with the information they're being provided. And if you are worried about your health, or people, doing their part, then talk to them who are open about what they're doing with their sanitation, or how they're handling the drop-offs, or send them the CDC link for the social distancing and operating a business recommendations. But don't call and harass people. Don't tell them they're killing people. There's insanity. You're acting insane. And I know you're afraid, and that's okay. You can have a healthy fear. You cannot take that fear out on other people. You can't. So that's my spiel. Think about it. Think about your policies if you're closed, and what you can do better when you reopen. Take all of this nervous energy and think about what licensing should look like for groomers, so that we can get that ball rolling and that we write it for ourselves, because who knows groomers better than other groomers? And for what it's worth, I think that we should have licensing like ServPro, like a ServPro type program. For me, it would be about safety, sanitation, using chemicals, how they're used, personal protective equipment that we would need, how to handle things. And, a lot of that can be done online and for very little cost. And you know, just a thought. Have some ideas. So, everyone be safe. Don't hate me because I don't think like you do. I love all of you, and I understand fear. I understand anxiety. I understand anxiety so well. And I'm still going to be here when this is over. And I'll still be your friend, even if you think that I'm killing people. I'm not. I'm not. I'm at my house. I'm at my house. Well, I am going to the vet tomorrow with my dog, but just try to be a little kinder to people. Okay, you don't know what they're going through. And I have friends that if they lost their business now after fighting for it for so long, it would have broken my fucking heart. And it would have probably killed them. So, okay, guys, I'm gonna go hug my dog and pick up my order at Home Depot, which I said I was staying home, but I'm not really. Like, I have stuff to do around my house that I need to go to Home Depot for. So I ordered online, though, for pickup, so I won't have to go in the store. You know, wash your hands, brush your teeth, floss. My dentist yelled at me I'm not a flosser, so do as I say, not as I do. You know, think about your life and how you can stay safe and what you need to do to stay safe and stay sane and survive, whether it's the virus or financially or, and stop harassing people, because stress lowers your immune system and makes you sick. Trust me. So I will see you guys in 2 weeks. And again, have a good one.